I hear this from clients all the time. They're showing up, they're doing what they're supposed to be doing. Nothing in their life is falling apart, but they feel completely worn out. I hear things like, I don't know why I'm so tired. Life feels so heavy, or even, I feel guilty for feeling so out of it. One important thing before we dive in: ongoing exhaustion should always be checked medically first. What I'm talking about here is what many people experience when medical causes have been ruled out and the exhaustion is still there. Emotional exhaustion is not a personal failure, it is, in fact, a nervous system response. Let's talk about it. So, when I talk about the nervous system, I'm talking about your body's built in stress response. It's the part of you that decides whether you're safe or need to stay on alert. When stress is short term, the nervous system ramps up and then settles back down. But when stress is constant, it can stay switched on, and that's when emotional and physical exhaustion start to show up. Think of your nervous system like a phone battery. Stress drains it, and when stress never really stops, the battery never fully recharges, no matter how much you rest. Emotional exhaustion often looks like functioning on the outside while feeling depleted on the inside. There's less patience, less emotional capacity, sometimes numbness, sometimes irritability. It can feel like you're running on fumes. This is often mistaken for laziness or lack of gratitude, but clinically, that's not what's happening. This shows up across every socioeconomic background. Some people are exhausted because they're financially stretched, juggling work, bills, caregiving, and constant uncertainty. Others are exhausted because they're carrying high responsibility, pressure to perform, or the fear of losing stability they worked hard to build. Different lives, same nervous system. From a therapeutic perspective, emotional exhaustion develops when stress becomes chronic and safety becomes scarce. For some people, safety is financial. For others, it's job security, housing, health care, or lack of emotional support. When safety feels uncertain, the nervous system stays alert, and when it stays alert long enough, exhaustion sets in. I often work with people who are financially stretched. They wake up already tired, they're managing work, bills, family responsibilities, and constant mental calculations. There's very little margin for error and very little room for rest. From a clinical lens, their nervous system is often stuck in threat mode, and that doesn't just affect emotions, it shows up physically: chronic fatigue, headaches, muscle tension, sleep problems, getting sick more often. That's not weakness, that's prolonged survival. Emotional exhaustion doesn't always look dramatic. It can look like irritability over small things, brain fog, difficulty making decisions, emotional numbness. It can show up as digestive issues or waking up tired no matter how much you sleep. These aren't random symptoms, they're stress signals. Now consider someone who looks fine on paper: stable income, support system, life appears secure, and yet they feel depleted and ashamed for feeling that way. They tell themselves they shouldn't feel this tired. They push through symptoms. They minimize what their body is saying. Clinically, this often leads to chronic inflammation, tension related pain, elevated blood pressure, or hormonal disruption over time. When emotional exhaustion becomes chronic, it can increase risk for sleep disorders, weakened immune system, digestive issues, chronic pain and tension, headaches and migraines, cardiovascular strain, blood sugar dysregulation, and ongoing inflammation. This isn't meant to scare anyone. It's meant to explain why just pushing through doesn't work. The body is responding, not failing. When people override exhaustion, cortisol stays elevated. The nervous system remains activated. True recovery becomes harder to access. This is why rest alone doesn't always help. From a therapy perspective, the work isn't about fixing someone, it's about helping them get their energy, balance, and emotional capacity back. That usually means a few key things. First, calming the nervous system. This involves simple practices that help the body feel safe again, like grounding in the present moment, noticing what's around you and tuning into physical sensations instead of staying stuck in your head. Second, working with pressure filled thoughts. Many people carry messages like, I should be able to handle this, or other people have it worse, so I shouldn't struggle. Therapy helps slow those thoughts down and question whether they're actually helpful or fair. Third, clarifying what truly matters to you. Instead of constantly fighting your thoughts or emotions, this work focuses on helping you live in ways that line up with your values, even when things feel uncomfortable. And finally, looking at boundaries and roles. A lot of exhaustion comes from taking on too much responsibility, not because you want to, but because you learned you had to in order to survive. Therapy helps sort out what's truly yours to carry and what isn't. The goal isn't to push harder, it's to create enough safety and space for your system to recover. If this resonates, your exhaustion makes sense. It reflects the world you've been navigating, not a personal flaw. Emotional exhaustion is information, and with support, safety, and the right interventions, it is reversible. You were never meant to carry constant pressure alone. If you feel comfortable, I'd love to hear in the comments what feels most emotionally draining for you right now. And in the next video, I'll talk about why overthinking often shows up alongside emotional exhaustion.